Welcome to the Dawntrail 1 to 100 Leveling Skills Guide. I'll be going over all of your skills as you train to do the weenus better than the rest of them, but also hopefully kill your enemies along the way. Watch us go from this to this.
If these trends continue, hey!
This is a beginner-focused series aimed to help those new to Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO genre, or still just need a little help. In that same vein, this will be focused on your actions and how to use them. We'll not be going deep into optimization, instead focused on the general play and giving general opening rotations. We will go through these together in order to help new players understand the process. If you wish to push your play further, there are further places to research the job. The goal here is to drop players in on the ground level so they can make strides to improve themselves. Tooltips are broken up by expansion, and that expansion's level cap. So level 60 for Heavensward, 70 for Stormblood, 80 for Shadowbringers, 90 for Endwalker, and our final level cap of 100 in Dawntrail. I recommend all players add Sprint and Limit Break to their hotbars, both found in the General tab of the Actions menu. And as for how my hotbars build, it'll make sense at 100. Just put your skills on your hotbars so that you are comfortable as you play. Everyone has their own way of doing things. If you want more info on the how and why I set up my UI, check the description for a video about it. Finally, keep in mind this is an active MMO. Patches can and will change jobs. Check the description for a quick overview of each patch's changes or special notes. With all that out of the way, please support me in whatever way you can, check my links below, and let's begin. Dancer is almost entirely proc and priority based, procs being one skill activating another. Your basic combo procs beta hits randomly. Those beta combos randomly give you a resource. The resource spenders can proc an advanced version of itself that is free to use. That's 3 different procs to make 4 different layers in the chain. While it sounds complex, it is considered one of the easier jobs to play. Past the initial learning curve, you'll have a low personal damage, high party support job. Solo you may have lower overall damage, but really shine in a party environment. This low damage may not be obvious due to having very flashy skills, and 1 or 2 skills with very high potency. To obtain the Dancer job, you must complete your level 10 class quest and be level 60. That's it, aside from owning the Shadowbringers expansion that is, which also may end up becoming part of the base game. With this done, head to the Lim-Solominsa Aetheryte Plaza and head south. First blue quest is the Dancer job. Let's get into the finer details of each skill. Dancer starts all the way at level 60, which is a lot of our toolkit to begin with. First is our role actions. This is a mixed bag of skills, some way more useful than others, but they're otherwise worth putting on your hotbars. Make room for these, and see about where you can use them. There's a video in the corner and in the description for a video about these skills. I recommend checking it out. Level 50 and 60, increased action damage and increased action damage 2. These increase your base damage by 10% and 20% respectively. Even when you level sync, you won't notice these skills being missing. Level 1, 2, 20, and 40, Cascade, Fountain, Reverse Cascade, and Fountainfall. These are all paired together because they're functionally all part of a single GCD combo. Cascade does 200 potency of damage to an enemy, comboing into Fountain that does a 260 potency hit. Both skills also have a 50% chance to get a proc, procs being one skill activating another. Cascade can proc Silken Symmetry, and Fountain can proc Silken Flow. These activate Reverse Cascade and Fountainfall respectively. Reverse Cascade has a 260 potency hit. Fountainfall is 320 potency. They're the much stronger attacking options. These procs last for 30 seconds, so you don't need to use these skills immediately. However, use them before using Cascade or Fountain again. If you have Silken Symmetry and use Cascade, getting Silken Symmetry again will overwrite the proc. Because these proc hits are stronger, you don't want to waste them. Plus they have a further proc we'll talk about in a moment. This all is essentially a 2-way combo that you can store. As long as you aren't swapping to your main AoE combo between Cascade and Fountain, you can't even break combos. Combos have a 30-second time limit to execute them across the board, so there's a lot of leeway of when you need to continue your combos. Prioritize procs when you can. You get higher damage and a 50% chance at a Fourfold Feather. These are useful for our next skill. Level 30, Fourfold Mastery and Fan Dance. This introduces our first gauge, Fourfold Feathers. Anytime Reverse Cascade or Fountainfall gives a feather, it goes here. With a 1 second cooldown, Fan Dance is an OGCD that costs a single Fourfold feather to do a 150 potency hit to a target. This is why you want to use your Silken procs as much as you can. A 50% chance for an extra 150 potency every single time, on top of their higher base damage. You can store up to 4 feathers for burst phases or other such tactics. Beyond tactics like that, this is just an extra bit of damage you want to weave in. Throw out feathers when you can. While Dancer is the lowest personal DPS, lowest doesn't mean low or none. You still do plenty. As you level up, you get extra benefits to using your feathers, so get used to spending them sooner than later. Level 15, 25, 35, 45, and 50, Windmill, Bladeshower, Rising Windmill, Bloodshower, and Fan Dance 2. That was a lot of skills, but follow the same pattern as your single target skills, but these are AoE, area of effect skills. All of them have a 5 yalm radius around yourself. Despite being a ranged job, you need to be next to the enemies for your AoE. Windmill into Bladeshower is your main combo. This is 120 potency into 160 potency AoEs. The procs they give are Silken Symmetry and Silken Flow respectively. These are the same procs as your single target skills. If you use Windmill and get a Silken Symmetry, you can spend that on Reverse Cascade, and the reverse is true. So if the need arises, you can easily swap back and forth between single target and AoE. Back to Rising Windmill and Bloodshower, these are 160 potency and 200 potency AoE each, significantly stronger than the base combo when procs are available. And these skills have a 50% chance at Fourfold feathers, just like a single target. However, we instead use these on Fan Dance 2, still a 5 yalm AoE around yourself, costing 1 feather. This is an extra 100 potency AoE you can weave in between attacks. This is another reason why you may end up holding some feathers. AoE is stronger than single target on as few as 2 or more enemies. If there are multiple enemies, especially if there are a lot of enemies, start using AoE. The same rules as single target apply. Spend your procs as you get them, spend feathers for extra damage, and keep pushing buttons. Both play the same, just a different set of buttons across both situations. Level 60, Closed Position. Dancer is a support job with both party-wide and single-player buffing opportunities. Closed Position is how you choose the player for your single-target buffing abilities. This designates a dance partner, which shares the effects of 4 different abilities with that player. We'll be going over 2 of them now, and 2 more as we go through skills beyond level 60. For now, at the start of every duty, we're going to choose a dance partner. In dungeons, it will always be a co-DPS who you partner, but in 8-player parties, you have 3 or 4 other DPS to partner, which means you need some general ordering. When you can't rely on a friend to partner, or you see someone you know for sure is a skilled player, you have to just randomly choose. For better results, we can instead follow a priority. Every expansion has its own priority at each level cap, and the one I am about to show you is specifically for level 100 Dawntrail. Priority can also change wildly through an expansion's life, small or large tweaks, with Dawntrail already reworking several jobs in patches, so take this chart with a pound of salt. This is based purely on job choice. Skill, gear, and overall party composition are not being taken into account. Samurai is just alone at the top because of both what you offer them and what they offer you. Dance Partner is a mutual benefit later on. Next is most of the melee and Pictomancer. Even after the nerfs, Pictomancer is pretty ridiculous. Then the final melee is Dragoon, along with Black Mage. Read this final tier left to right for best to worst. Tanks and healers? Not an option you want to consider. But if your co-DPS is truly that bad, not pressing buttons, give it to the tank. Mid-battle, the aggro list is a good estimate for if you made a good choice. Other than the tanks, does your dance partner have the highest aggro level? If they don't, consider swapping dance partner to the person who is. High aggro usually means high damage output. Just make sure you always have someone partnered. A bad dance partner is better than none. Let's look at 2 skills that help your dance partner. Level 15, Standard Step. On a 30-second cooldown, this involves our second UI element and is a whole system in itself. First, upon hitting standard step, you will be put through a 1.5 second global cooldown. This also changes your gauge into a pair of colored symbols. Then both your single target and AoE skills will also have changed into other skills. I've been told like 3 different ways to pronounce each of these and nobody agrees, so sorry if I didn't use the ones you say are correct. The red rose is Embawite, the blue dove is Entrachet, the green leaf is Jete, the yellow crown is Pirouette. If you are colorblind, rely on the symbols rather than the colors. One will also be lit up with a combo border, showing you which button you need to hit. Each one has a very short, 1 second global cooldown. Standard Step is a game of Simon Says that you have up to 15 seconds to execute. You look at the gauge when you start dancing, then match the symbols from left to right. Green, blue, hit Jete then Entrachet. Again, they also light up when you need to hit them. Jete will be lit up. Hit it, and Entrachet will light up to hit that next. Even if you hit the wrong symbol, the only penalty is delaying you. It takes longer to finish your dance. The only real requirement is to hit the listed dance moves in order. How many incorrect moves are between them does not matter, so long as you hit the right moves. Though, do try to avoid hitting the wrong ones, because you're doing less damage. It will always be 2 different symbols, never 2 of the same. After hitting the symbols, you will hit Standard Step again. It is lit up and is now Standard Finish. This is a 1.5 second global cooldown that does a massive AoE, 15 yalms in range. The effects of this get stronger based on how many correct steps you took in the dance, which you should always aim for 2 steps. The first effect is damage. A successful dance will do 800 potency to the first enemy within range, and 320 potency to all enemies beyond the first. In both boss fights and in AoE, you essentially want to use this on cooldown because of these damage values. The second effect is a big one. You and your dance partner will be given a 5% damage up buff for 60 seconds. Because Standard Step is only a 30-second cooldown, you essentially have a permanent 5% damage up. This alone is enough for you to be 100% sure you have someone partnered in all duty 60 or higher. Big damage, and bigger damage for you and your ally. I would also like to make a major note here. Standard Step buffs stack with other dancers. If you get into a dungeon where you both are dancers, you can partner each other. The self and target versions of the buffs are different. To sum it all up from there, hit Standard Step, hit glowing step buttons in order based on the step gauge, hit Standard Finish. Just be careful of where exactly you are positioned when you use it. 15 yalms is a very big AoE, so you could hit enemies you had no intent to hit. Level 52, Curing Waltz. On a 60-second cooldown, this does a short-range AoE heal around you and your dance partner, 5 yalms in size. This heals you both and anyone within range. This can include each other. Assuming a tight stack, this can be a 600 potency heal to everyone hit by it. This furthers your reasons to stand in melee range as much as you can. It's such a short range heal, anywhere else it becomes more of a heal for yourself and your partner. This isn't a heal to sleep on. This is about an 8% self heal, 16% if you also get hit by your dance partner's heal as well. That's a lot, and free since you can weave it between attacks. You can help the healer out after the boss does some form of raid-wide damage, or try and specifically aim to hit the tank since they're taking far more damage. This is a tactic you can even use in trash pools. Carefully make your way over to the tank between doing AoE attacks and hit Curing Waltz. Just be careful you don't stand in enemy AoEs and end up getting yourself killed. Done right, this is a helpful option. Let's move on to the rest of our starting toolkit. Level 56, Shield Samba. On a 2-minute cooldown, this reduces the damage taken by all allies within a 30 yalm range by 10%. This buff lasts for 15 seconds and cannot stack with the Bard or Machinist version of this skill. While being a party defensive, this is still very useful for dungeon trash pools. Trash is more dangerous than bosses. Sure, you're only helping the tank stay alive, but that's all you need in trash fights. The tank taking 10% less damage means the healer has an easier time keeping them going. While killing enemies, throw this out to support your tank. For all kinds of bosses, there's a lot of possible uses. If everyone in the party is going to take a lot of damage due to mechanics, or just plain raid-wide damage, hit Shield Samba to reduce it. If there are multiple instances of damage, you're having an even greater effect. This means good timing is rewarded. Don't hold onto your support for no reason. These are very useful for survival and just generally helpful. It doesn't need to be the difference between life and death for it to be of help, but high-end content, that difference will be emphasized. Level 50, En Avant. This does a quick 10 yalm dash in the direction your character is facing, with a 30-second cooldown. This has some important benefits over normal movement, namely in speed. If you are slow to dodge an AoE, you can hit En Avant to quickly dodge. Just be wary of the direction you are facing so you don't dash into more AoEs or off the edge of an arena. Another option is for keeping up with the party. I mean, you have Sprint and should be using Sprint, also Peloton if it's not mid-combat. If you are still for some reason falling behind the rest of the party and the tank, En Avant is a quick dash to catch back up a little. Even for the speed, it isn't instant and you are completely locked into the animation once begun. Keep this in mind, but it's extra movement when you need it. Though you are a ranged DPS, your positioning generally should be better than the need to use En Avant too often. That is our starting toolkit. It's not very expansive, very simple. If you understand the idea behind your procs and how to do your dance, with a dance partner chosen, then you know basically how to dance it. Though there's always more specifics that can be gone over. This includes openers, which at 60, you don't really have one. At most, you pre-pull prepare your dance, and that's it. This is our opener. Use standard step on cooldown, and just hit your combo buttons. Hit procs when you can, use feathers, or save feathers for your next opener, which will only really come into play in later levels. At most, I can say something for AoE, and the so-called openers for it. AoE opener is a bit of a misnomer, since AoE has far more variables involved. Number of packs of enemies, how quick the tank is, and the travel time regardless. There's a beginning, middle, and end to it all. Immediately when you load into a duty, dance partner someone. Depending on the dungeon, the first wall-to-wall pull could be good to go before or after 30 seconds. So in some cases you may want to immediately standard step to get the buff going, or wait until the tank has grabbed everything. While running with the tank, throw some pot shots at enemies to get procs. Make sure to spread the damage so you don't accidentally take aggro or anything. Then once the tank gets the last group of enemies and parks, or is about to, dance to get a full-powered standard finish. From there you just alternate your GCD combo, use procs, and use any feathers you manage to obtain. The only other note here is Shield Samba. There will be no set timing for using it. You could use it earlier, or more toward the middle of a pool, or use it for the next pool because the next pool hits harder. I will be showing it at the start and end of the opener for this reason. It could be used anywhere, so long as you do use it. With that out of the way, let's move on to the next section of our toolkit in the Stormblood level range. Level 62, Devilment. On a 2-minute cooldown, this increases both critical and direct hit rate by 20% each for 20 seconds. This buff also applies to your dance partner. Anytime you or your party is about to dish out a burst phase, Devilment ensures your partner shines above the rest. You want to put this up in every opener, or otherwise using it on cooldown. You'll be using it after you dance, since you want the guaranteed damage boost up first. Higher rates for big damage is great, but still. The only real worry here is using it late into a battle, right as stuff is going to die. If the battle is over, you're better off holding it. Otherwise, we're using it on cooldown. Level 66, Fan Dance 3. This technically comes with an upgrade to Fan Dance and Fan Dance 2. Each of these now has a 50% chance to grant a 3-fold Fan Dance proc. These procs are the only way to use Fan Dance 3, similar to your normal combo. It costs no feathers to use, and is not a player-centered AoE. It is an AoE of 5 yalms centered on your current target. This target will take a hit of 200 potency. All enemies within the range of the AoE will take 80 potency of damage. In all possible contexts, you should be using this every time you get a proc. It's free damage at no cost when you get it. This becomes something extra to worry about if you start trying to save feathers for burst phases. You have to watch for any time you are given 3-fold Fan Dance. If you Fan Dance 1 or 2 before spending it, you will overwrite the proc just like any other. This leads to a good amount of weaving on top of what you already could build up. Anytime you spend a feather, be ready to use Fan Dance 3. Level 68, Enhanced En Avant. This turns En Avant into a skill with charges. The moment you spend a charge, it begins to recharge. So in total you have a 60-second cooldown for both charges, but can use them as needed. So if you need back-to-back dashes for dodging, or speed, or what have you, you can save them up for that moment, or spread them out as the duty demands. Level 70, Technical Step. This is our only job quest locked skill as a dancer. Do your job quests as you continue the job, as this skill is our most important one. Technical Step is a 2-minute cooldown that works the same as Standard Step, but with all 4 dance steps. Activate the dance, do all 4 dances in the specified order, then hit the button again for Technical Finish. Once again, there are 2 effects. The first is damage, doing 1200 potency to the first target and 480 potency to all targets after the first. The AoE size is 15 yalms just like Standard Step 2. The second effect is a lot bigger than Standard Steps. Technical Finish will buff all allies within a 30 yalm range for 20 seconds by 5%. It's not just you and your partner for this one. Plus, this even stacks with Standard Finish, giving both you and your partner 2 5% boosts. Run into melee, blow up the enemies, and buff up your entire team. And obviously in bosses, you're throwing this out in the opener for making everyone else do a lot more damage. We want to use this on cooldown every time it comes up. With these skills, it's time for a real opener. Kinda. Dancer has an extremely tiny opener, even at level cap. This will be half of it. There's almost nothing to go over, but let's go through it. Pre-pull, closed position, standard step, dance, dance. Standard finish, technical step, dance, 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 technical finish, devilment, cascade. Same as before, we prep standard step on the run up to the boss so we can immediately buff ourselves and our partner. We want our team buffed too, so we immediately pivot into technical step. By this point, the entire party will be finished ramping up and start throwing out all their party buffs and big hits. This is also why we immediately weave in devilment. From there, we can't really do much. We do our normal combo hits, try and get procs, spend them if we get any, and use our cooldowns as they come back down the line. But with how little there is, that's it for an overview. Let's get into Shadowbringers and the major additions that brings. Level 72, Flourish. On a 60-second cooldown and only usable in combat, this instantly grants you all 3 of your procs, but 2 of them slightly different. We get Threefold Fan Dance, which allows for Fan Dance 3. That's the same. However, we also get Flourishing Symmetry and Flourishing Flow. These are the same as Silken Symmetry and Silken Flow, allowing for you to use the procs GCDs. Being differently named, you can stack both sets of procs. The fact these can stack means you can't accidentally overwrite your procs. The only way you can overwrite a proc with Flourish is with Fan Dance 3. So just don't weave in a feather when you're using Flourish, and you're golden. Weave the Fan Dance 3 at the same time as Flourish even. Use Flourish on cooldown and use the procs as you can. You'll be getting a lot more feathers thanks to this. Level 76, Esprit. Our fan gauge has expanded to now have a traditional gauge attached. This is Esprit, and is only generated when under the effects of our dances. Both standard and technical finish now grant Esprit when they go out, lasting as long as the damage buffs on the specific allies. On yourself, Esprit has a guaranteed generation of 5 Esprit every time you use a GCD from your main combos, single target and AoE. On your allies, it has a much more theory crafting type of bonus. When your allies cast spells or land weapon skills, there is a chance to gain 10 Esprit. This chance is different for every single job. Well, there's some overlap certainly, but no easy way to know what each job's rate is. This is part of why Samurai is your best partner choice. Point is, there is a random chance to get Esprit from party members when you dance for them. Even when you use technical step, you're not guaranteed any Esprit. Will take astronomical odds to get 0 Esprit, but still technically possible. You're now starting to generate Esprit, but what do we do to spend it? Level 76, Saber Dance. On the GCD, this does an AoE attack centered on an enemy. It has a 5 yalm radius, doing 500 potency to the initial target, 200 to all enemies after the first. It costs 50 Esprit to use, and the Esprit gauge begins to flash to signal it's usable. But otherwise, there isn't really anything more complex to it. You can hold on to Saber Dance for a little bit, but don't hold too long that you hit 100 gauge. The longer you sit on 100 gauge, the more likely you're going to lose some gauge to overcapping. Throw out Saber Dance where you can, especially in AoE. Level 78, Enhanced En Avant II. We now have 3 charges for En Avant, a total 90-second cooldown, 30 seconds per charge. All the same uses apply, but now slightly more. Level 80, Improvisation. On a 2-minute cooldown, this is a support skill. First off, hitting this button will disable your auto attack automatically. Secondly, if you take any action, movement, turning, attacking, Improvisation will end early. So make sure you are standing completely still for the duration of improv. And thirdly, all allies within 8 yalms will be granted a 100 potency heal over time, or HOT. It lasts for 15 seconds, healing every 3 seconds. In total, that's 500 potency. The big purpose of this skill is channeling, as hinted at by the fact that the skill ends by moving. If you continue to channel it, the buff will constantly refresh until the skill ends. But that's not why we're channeling it. The reason is that channeling the skill will cause you to accumulate stacks of another buff every 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 4. If you channel the skill until time runs out, you lose all the stacks, but Improvise turns into Improvised Finish. Hitting this button at any point will expend all the stacks and give all players inside the area a shield with a percentage of max HP, up to 10%. This shield will last for 30 seconds before falling off. The place you end up using Improvisation most is anytime a boss has some form of ultimate attack. You almost never can attack the boss during these events. If it isn't a full-on cutscene, you can plop down Improvisation to give a regen and defensive shield. Bosses can still do mechanics and raid wides immediately after, so giving the healers a little help makes it worth it. Mid-combat, it is possible to hit Improvisation and finish between GCDs. You will clip just a little bit, but in high-end content this is a 5% of max HP shield, along with a decent regen. That can definitely be the difference between life and death. In more casual content, it's hardly that important, but still a good tactic to use if your party is struggling. This brings us into our next opener. All we need to do is simply add in Flourish and its procs, but this does potentially give us a use of Saber Dance. There is no guarantee just because of how Esprit works, so Dancer is an opener based on many layers of RNG. If you do get enough Esprit, use it immediately. Buffing such a strong hit with Technical Step and Devilment is very much worth it. This applies to single target and AoE. Building the opener continues to be very slow going. Esprit and Saber Dance are a very major part of our rotation, but even still amount to 1 additional skill at most. On the bright side, Endwalker levels are going to do a bit more than just 1 skill for us. Level 82, Enhanced Technical Finish and Tillana. This is a further action on top of Technical Finish. Technical Finish grants us Flourishing Finish for 30 seconds, turning it into Tillana. This is a normal GCD hit. This has a 15 yalm range like both of your dances. It does a 600 potency hit to the first enemy, and 240 potency to all enemies after the first. This will also grant you an instant 50 Esprit, guaranteeing you 1 use of Saber Dance. When you go to use Tillana, make sure you don't overcap your Esprit too hard. Use Saber Dance first if applicable. You'll have time for Tillana and 2 Saber Dances in openers. Level 84, Enhanced Esprit. Our GCD proc skills have been boosted. Reverse Cascade, Fountainfall, Rising Windmill, and Bloodshower all give 10 Esprit when used under the Esprit buff. This speeds up how many Saber Dances we get, but doesn't really change how we play at all. Level 86, Enhanced Flourish and Fan Dance 4. Upon using Flourish, we are now also granted Fourfold Fan Dance for 30 seconds. This is the only way for us to use Fan Dance 4, which makes it essentially Flourish's version of Tillana, but a bit different. This is a Conal OGCD AoE with a massive 15 yalm radius. This is as far as your dances, but for a cone it is huge. This does 300 potency to the first enemy, and 120 potency to all enemies beyond the first. Weave this in as soon as you can. If you're flooded with feathers and trying to make use of those so you don't overcap, you have time to use one of those first. The timer is quite long, preventing overcap is more useful. Level 88, Enhanced Shield Samba. Shield Samba's cooldown is dropped 30 seconds to a shorter 90 seconds. Mechanics and raid-wide damage happen a lot in Endgame, and you can use this more often to block some of it. Don't forget the trash mob use for in dungeons. Level 90, Enhanced Devilment and Starfall Dance. This is our first and only example of action change settings for Dancer. You can have Devilment become Starfall Dance if you wish, keep it as a separate button, or both. Click the button under Devilment to set this, and put it however you wish. Devilment joins the crew and now has a proc of its own. Devilment will grant Flourishing Starfall for 20 seconds. This allows us to use Starfall Dance, which is a 25 yalm line AoE in the direction of your current target. This does 600 potency to the first target, and 150 potency to all targets after the first. This seems nothing special at first, but the fact that it will always be a critical direct hit makes this a lot stronger. Consistently so. While you can't get a lucky crit, like with other skills, being guaranteed the direct crit means this is more functionally an over 1000 potency hit every time. Same as all our other procs, we simply just want to use these whenever they are available, regardless of single target or AoE. When in AoE, you need to aim this differently to any of your other AoEs. Most are all circles based on you or your enemy target. Starfall Dance and Fan Dance 4 are both straight ahead, but in this case, this is just a line instead of a cone. A much smaller AoE, which involves you trying to find the best line across all the enemies to hit as many as you can. As far as an opener, Starfall Dance is technically lower priority than our other skills. We still start with Devilment to get the buff for Tillana. Tillana gives us both a big hit and Esprit, so we want that sooner than later. Weave in Flourish as we then head to spend our gauge on Saber Dance. We want to get our gauge lowered before it caps out. We can weave in Fan Dance 4 for our first big hit, and then Fan Dance 3 comes after. From there we're spending our remaining procs. If you get enough gauge for another Saber Dance, do so. I'll be talking a bit deeper about this section at level 100 though. There's a lot that goes into it in terms of how you should prioritize your skills, but that's after we go through our final set of skills. Technically, this is the biggest set of changes we'll see. Level 92, Enhanced Standard Finish and Last Dance. Using Standard Finish will now give you a proc for 30 seconds to use Last Dance. Last Dance will do a 5 yalm AoE centered on your current target. It does 520 potency to the target and 208 potency to all additional enemies. This is just an additional strong GCD to use. There's not really any reason to not use it when you have it, aside from using your other, stronger options first. But 520 potency puts it pretty high up there on the list. Level 94, Dynamic Dancer. This is just a lot of potency boosts, mostly 20 apiece. Technical Finish is 1300 potency now as the most notable boost, but this doesn't change how we play. Level 96, Enhanced Flourish 2, and Finishing Move. Flourish gives yet another proc. This one is Finishing Move ready for 30 seconds. This turns Standard Step into Finishing Move, while both skills share the 30-second cooldown. They share everything really, power, buffs, and other effects. This is essentially an upgraded Standard Step where you do not have to dance. You are given the double step finish potency, damage buff for you and your ally, and all effects on a normal 2.5 second GCD. You'll want to use this as soon as the Standard Step cooldown runs out. Note that Finishing Move also gives you Last Dance. Level 98, Enhanced Shield Samba 2. This makes Shield Samba a 15% damage reduction instead of the original 10%. While not a huge boost, 5% is 5%. Stuff hurts in Dawntrail, even in dungeons, so throwing out Shield Samba when you can is a massive boon. Level 100, Enhanced Technical Finish 2, and Dance of the Dawn. Technical Finish now gives us one final proc, on top of everything else and every other proc we have. You have 30 seconds to use a massively upgraded Saber Dance, which is what will turn into Dance of the Dawn. It does 1000 potency to your target, and 400 potency to all enemies within 5 yalms of that target. It still costs 50 Esprit, but remember that Technical Finish also gives us Tillana. Oh look, 50 gauge to immediately use that on Dance of the Dawn. Same as all of your procs, there is no reason to not use this. Being the strongest attack you have, you want to rush it out as soon as you can. You only get one use of it, with it turning right back into Saber Dance after. Let's move on to the final opener. I'll go over it from the beginning just to do a full overview, especially since there wasn't much to go over before this. That way you understand the full breadth of why we do things in this order. Though Dance's opener doesn't have too many moving parts to really worry about. As soon as a duty starts, pick your partner and give them close position. Be quick though, because the tanks will be raring to pull immediately, in most cases. Then start casting Standard Step. In higher end content, you'll be given a countdown instead of needing to rush into the dance. Specifically, you would get a 16-second countdown. you would hit standard step on the 15 mark, giving you tons of time to dance, and as the timer runs out, hit standard finish. This massively advances the cooldown of standard step, so that finishing move will be available for inside of your opener. In any casual content, you will not be able to do this like, ever. As a result, the finishing move in the opener will instead not be in openers or burst, unless you intentionally delay later standard steps. This is a level of optimizing and probably not worth it, so just accept the loss. We then immediately go into technical step. While we dance, everyone else will be preparing for their burst phases and putting up any buffs of their own as we finish it up. We'll immediately hit Devilment to buff our dance partner, as well as ourselves. Putting up all buffs before our big attacks is just smart to do, plus some procs are hidden behind it. As far as all of our procs, we use Tillana first because it will give us Esprit, and of course a guaranteed Dance of the Dawn. We could theoretically not get enough for Dance of the Dawn otherwise. We then weave in Flourish for all the rest of our procs. We have so many of them now, and we're going to use them all. Dance of the Dawn is next as both our strongest hit, and because we want to spend Esprit as we get it. If we don't, there is also a chance we immediately overcap as well. Our next weave is Fan Dance 4, being the strongest of our weaving attacks. We then Last Dance, being a strong attack that can crit. We'll Fan Dance 3 to get that out, then things get weird. First off, as I said earlier, you might not even have finishing move available here. This would give you a second proc of Last Dance if you could. All further GCDs follow a priority system. We're going to get at least Starfall Dance and Saber Dance in here, but how everything works from here can change based on how much Esprit you gain. Here is a general order you can follow. We'll first use Starfall Dance to make sure it gets used. Next is probably a Saber Dance because of Esprit gains. From there we'll use that Last Dance proc from finishing move if you got it. Then Fountainfall and reverse Cascade procs into normal GCD spending. Again, this is a general ordering to follow. In reality, it's more a priority-based system. Top of the list is Saber Dance if you have 80 Esprit or higher. This is because you're in danger of overcapping. Second in the priority is Starfall Dance, since it's so strong. Then we have Saber Dance again, because it's just strong and spends gauge. From there priority goes Last Dance, Fountainfall, and ending on reverse Cascade. If you've run out of this list, you go to basic GCDs. When it comes around to burst phases, you'll also be carrying feathers you've built up. You'll want to condense your OGCD uses a bit in order to fit in Fan Dance uses, along with any additional Fan Dance 3s beyond the guaranteed one from Flourish. The best part about this opener though, aside from the previously talked about travel time to factor in, you can do your opener exactly the same between single target and AoE. Standard step as the run-up finishes, go into technical step, then throw out all the same skills. They're all AoEs too. Just remember that you can also add in Shield Samba for helping the tank take less damage. Just replace Fountainfall and reverse Cascade with Bloodshower and Rising Windmill. Use the AoE skill set instead of single target after all. Now let's go into the Karaoke opener. This is where I'm going to go over the opener and say the skills as they get used. This means any OGCDs will be said quickly between GCDs. Also because dance is both simple and random, there's only so much I can do to properly say the skill names. I will say the skill names I use, but it could be a completely different order when you do it. Especially since I lack a party to gain Esprit from in this environment. Overall though, this should give you an idea of the speed, or lack thereof, in the Dancer opener. Pre-pull, closed position, standard step, dance, dance, standard finish, technical step, dance, 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 technical finish, Devilment, Tillana, Flourish, Dance of the Dawn, Fan Dance 4, Last Dance, Fan Dance 3, finishing move, Starfall Dance, Last Dance, Fountainfall, Reverse Cascade. It's a very simple job overall. There's definitely plenty you can work to optimize and work on, while having a fun design all its own. There's no other job that plays anything like it, so enjoy your time dancing your way to victory. Thank you for watching this Dawntrail 1 to 100 leveling skills guide. Feel free to give feedback or ask questions on what might still be confusing to you. I am always seeking to improve, as should you. Don't stop with this guide, even if I succeeded in helping you improve. Please leave a rating, comment, sub, those really do help creators. You can also come watch me on Twitch, or even go follow my Patreon. The links in the description will take you where you need to. Have fun in your adventures across Tyrol, and may the power of An and Nidhogg lay waste to your enemies.